Have you ever felt like you're living, but the life you're living isn't really yours? Everything seems fine on the surface. You have a job, a schedule, casual relationships. But inside, something feels suffocating, slow burning, and impossible to name. No one sees it. Maybe you can't even describe it clearly yourself. It's just this quiet exhaustion, a cold sense of unease hiding behind what people call normal. It's not exactly depression. It's not a breakdown. It's more like a silent thirst. A thirst to live. A hunger to truly feel like you exist. You feel tired, even though nothing's gone wrong. You wake up exhausted before the day has even begun. You drift through each moment, sensing that something essential is missing. Something this world never taught you how to find. And from that very moment, the illusion you once believed in starts to crack. They taught you that a good life is a peaceful one. That suffering is a kind of failure. That confusion, exhaustion, and loneliness are flaws in the system. And you believed them. You ran away from yourself because you thought you were the problem. But what if that very pain was your soul calling out to you? What if it wasn't the end, but a warning, a message saying, you're headed the wrong way? Nietzsche once said, truth does not come to comfort you. It comes to awaken you. And today, I'm not here to tell you a pleasant story. I'm here to break the silence inside you. To remind you of this, you were not born to be just fine. You were born to be powerful. To live a life that leaves a mark, to turn every scar into the beginning of your rebirth. If something in this message stirred something deep inside you, click, like so. The algorithm doesn't bury the messages that truly matter. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because your journey of self-discovery has only just begun. Since we were young, we've been raised on one single idea. Seek happiness. Be a good person. Live peacefully. Avoid anything that might hurt you. And if you suffer, then you must be living the wrong way. If you're lonely, stuck, disappointed, then you need to fix yourself to match the mold of someone living the right life. It sounds kind, but Nietzsche called it a sweet lie, a fake sense of comfort, designed to keep you tame, manageable, and most importantly, disconnected from your true potential. He didn't believe humans were born to be happy. Not the kind of happiness modern society drills into your head, the kind that's packaged in ads, sold in self-help seminars, and offered at holiday discounts. Nietzsche wasn't gentle, and he had no intention of making you feel good, because he knew that very desire to feel good is what weakens you day after day. Think about it. How many decisions have you delayed simply because they were hard? How many dreams did you abandon because they weren't guaranteed? How many times did you stay silent just to keep a temporary peace? The cost of comfort can sometimes be your entire life. Nietzsche called it a form of organized laziness, a sophisticated kind of surrender you never even realize. And it's wrapped in nice little quotes like, accept yourself as you are. Be grateful just to be alive. Learn to let go. Don't get me wrong. Gratitude and letting go are important, but only when you're not using them as an excuse to avoid growing up. Because the essence of life wasn't designed to keep you at peace. It was designed to challenge you. It will make you fall. It will break you. It will drag you out of your comfort zone by any means necessary. Because only through pain do you truly wake up. Nietzsche didn't write to teach you how to relax. He wrote to awaken the lion sleeping inside you. The lion that's been locked away in the cage of soft morals. In a society terrified of conflict and addicted to political correctness. He said, we do not seek happiness. We seek power. Power to overcome yourself. Power to rise after betrayal. Power to keep your will strong, even when everything else is falling apart. And that's the beginning of the will to power. Not power to control others, but the power to control yourself, not to live peacefully, but to live fully. You can reject this message. You can return to your familiar cycle. Work, entertainment, sleep, repeat. But if you're still here, if you're still listening right now, I believe there's a part of you that's starting to rise. A part that's tired of faking happiness. A part that's craving something more real, more powerful, more profound. And if that's you, keep walking with me, because what's coming next won't be easy to hear, but it will be exactly what you need. Click like if this message struck a chord within you, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next part, where we begin to decode the will to power in the raw, unforgiving way Nietzsche always intended. Nietzsche once said, "Life is a continuous flow of overcoming, not of others, but of yourself." And that is where the concept of the will to power was born. A primal, rough instinct, but also the most refined spiritual weapon a human being can possess. Have you ever felt that you were born to do more, to become more, but something invisible keeps pulling you back? A hesitation, avidez, a quiet fear you've never named. That is the beginning of the will to power. It's not the shallow ambition to beat others, not the arrogance to stand above them. It is the deep yearning to no longer be the old version of yourself. It's a silent journey between the you of today and the you you're meant to become. A war of the soul, with no cheering crowds, no spectators, and no glory if you give up halfway. Every morning you wake up, you face a choice. Return to the old self, procrastinate, complain, repeat, or take one step, even the smallest, out of the rotting comfort zone. The will to power is not a slogan. It's a decision, and you must make that decision every single day. Nietzsche saw something most people fear to admit. Humans don't seek peace. They crave intensity. They feel most alive when they're struggling, enduring, climbing out of mediocrity. You might look at yourself in the mirror, and maybe you're not satisfied. Maybe you see your weaknesses, your failures, the truths you haven't yet faced. Believe me, Nietzsche would not tell you to forgive yourself and go to sleep. He would tell you to use your disappointment as a tool. Use failure to learn how to rise. Use pain to forge resilience. Use lonely days to train your self-control. Turn every fall into fuel for your next rebirth. Because to him, life does not want you to feel good. It wants you to grow strong. It wants you to taste failure, to be betrayed, to get lost, just so you can find yourself in the wreckage. The will to power is the refusal to live as a copy. It's the choice to rewrite the program that runs your life. To look at the values you were taught: obedience, silence, humility, and ask yourself, are these truths or velvet-wrapped chains? Nietzsche understood. This path is not easy. You will be misunderstood. You will be seen as rebellious. You will question yourself 100 times. And that is the moment when the will to power is no longer a theory. It becomes conviction. It becomes action. And more than anything, it becomes a fire that never dies. Imagine this: a version of you, 5 years from now, stronger, clearer, sharper. That person doesn't come from magic. That person is built from the small choices you make today. Every time you choose what's right over what's easy, every time you speak the truth, even if it costs you a relationship, every time you do the thing that makes you tremble, because you know it will change you forever. The will to power is not about mastering the world. It's about mastering yourself when the world is trying to make you forget who you really are. If this message awakens something inside you, click like to help this video someone else who needs it, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next chapter. where we'll step into a brutal truth. Happiness puts you to sleep, but pain, that's what makes you grow. Have you ever wondered why you still feel like something is missing? Even when you have everything society says you should want. A stable job, someone to love, holiday getaways, beautiful meals on Instagram, polite laughter, and the repeated "I wish you happiness" like a modern mantra. Everything looks perfect. Until it's and you're lying there, realizing you no longer know who you are. You're not lonely. You're waking up. Because this so-called mass lifestyle, the mold the whole world chases in unison, was never designed to help you become yourself. It was designed to make you just like everyone else. A machine that manufactures nice people, good people who never question, kind people who forget their own voice, pleasant people who trade away their soul. Nietzsche saw this centuries ago. He called it the morality of the herd. A value system built to suppress those who are different. It worships obedience. It glorifies blind sacrifice. It teaches you to smile, even as you rot inside. You're allowed to hurt, but don't show your pain. You're allowed to be angry, but don't raise your voice. You're allowed to despair, but hide it well behind sparkling filters. This is our society. A society that doesn't truly want you to be happy. It just wants you to not be a bother. Don't ask too many questions. Don't be different. Don't rise, because if you rise, you expose their limits, and you become the outcast. Nietzsche wasn't afraid of that. He embraced being an outsider as a form of rebirth, because only when you step out of the crowd can you begin to see how you were hypnotized by values that weren't yours, to see you spent half your life trying to please others, to see that everything you chased may not even be yours, but a legacy of fear handed down to you. And in that moment, the question is no longer, how do I get accepted? But rather, how long have I been living as someone I'm not? Nietzsche doesn't give you a path. He forces you to tear up the map. No more trails, no more guarantees. Just you, facing yourself. And the first step always begins with loneliness. Not everyone will understand you. Not everyone wants you to change. And no one is waiting to clap when you finally succeed. You will lose people. You will be called arrogant, weird, delusional. You will be asked, who do you think you are? And when that happens, remember this: awakening is the most violent act you can commit in a sleeping society. Because in a world obsessed with harmony, the awakened are a threat. Nietzsche didn't write for the masses. He wrote for the one standing alone, the one who's tired of the mask, the one who once tried living as they wanted, but is now willing to pay the price to live as they were meant to be. That's why the will to power doesn't begin with action. It begins with an awakening, a moment you can't come back from, a step that changes everything. You're in that moment now. If you feel your heartbeat rising, if you feel something in your chest screaming to live authentically, know this: you're breaking out of the collective dream. And if you're still here, click like, so this message doesn't get buried beneath the noise of beautiful lies. And subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next part, where we step into the heart of Nietzsche's philosophy, where he declares, man does not seek peace, man longs to rise. Awakening is the beginning. But Nietzsche didn't stop at the wake-up call. He didn't just say, break free. He showed us something more. A philosophical structure. 4 core pillars that can help you rebuild your entire self once all your old beliefs have collapsed. This is not a theory to debate in college classrooms. This is a survival blueprint for those ready to destroy their old self and rebuild from the ashes. We've already talked about this. It's not power to control others. It's strength to conquer yourself. Every time you overcome fear, you are living with will to power. Every time you act while still trembling, you are learning to walk on the legs of a free man. Nietzsche didn't believe in destiny. He believed in self-recreation. He believed that each of us is born with a wild instinct, a primal drive, to rise beyond ourselves. That is the will to power. No one can give it to you. It's already inside you, just waiting to be activated. Nietzsche looked at the world and saw that most of the moral values we worship are built on fear. When you're taught to be humble, often it's to keep you from becoming dangerous. When you're taught to sacrifice, it's sometimes so you can be controlled without resistance. Nietzsche called this the morality of slaves, a value system created by the weak to make weakness appear noble. He said bluntly, God is dead, not because he hated religion, but because he understood that the collapse of false absolutes is necessary for man to reclaim meaning. He invited us to redefine everything. What does it mean to be good? What does it mean to be right? What does it mean to live fully? And if your current definitions make you weaker, burn them. This might be the most painful one, but it's also the most brutally honest test of your existence. Nietzsche posed a question: what if you had to live this exact life with all its pain, mistakes, losses, and sins over and over again, for eternity? Would you say yes? Or would you scream in regret? This isn't a philosophy for afternoon tea. It's a mirror that exposes the truth about how you're living. If you can't accept reliving your life again, it means you're betraying yourself every day. When everything old is dismantled, Nietzsche doesn't leave you empty. He gives you a living symbol, someone who rises above the herd. The Overman doesn't seek approval. He seeks his own truth. He doesn't need to be liked. He just needs to live authentically. He doesn't beg for meaning. He creates it. The Overman doesn't follow the world. He reshapes it with a presence that cannot be broken. These four pillars are not separate. They are a living structure. Will to power fuels the revaluation of values. Revaluation leads to choosing your own life. Choosing your life forces you to live as if you'd live it forever. And when you dare to live that way, you become the Overman. But this is only the foundation, because in the next part, we'll enter the deepest layer of this journey. The truth about pain and why it's not happiness, but suffering that forges you into something unbreakable. If you feel this part deserves to reach others, click like and share this video with those searching for a more powerful, meaningful, and honest way to live. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next vital chapter. This is the part most people will want to skip, because who wants to hear about suffering? Who wants to believe that? Pain, the one thing we've always tried to avoid, is actually what nourishes true strength. But Nietzsche wasn't in the business of selling illusions. He didn't try to comfort you. He said it plainly. If you want to become strong, you must be willing to endure, not blindly, but with intention, knowing that behind every wound is a doorway to a higher version of yourself. Nietzsche didn't just write about suffering. He lived it. He was tormented by chronic physical pain, shunned by academia, dismissed by society, misunderstood until his very last breath. And in that very pain, he wrote ideas that would leave the world speechless for more than a century. He once said, "You must have chaos within you to give birth to a dancing star." That's not poetry. That's the raw truth of the soul. You cannot become truly powerful if you haven't crawled out of hell by yourself. You cannot understand clarity unless you've been consumed by chaos. You cannot build inner strength if you always run from pain. Do you remember the first time you set a boundary? Not because you wanted to, but because someone had crushed you down to the bone. Do you remember the moment you lost everything and realized you were still alive? Still had your legs, still had your will. And strangely, after all that, You began to live more truthfully. You didn't grow in spite of the pain. You grew because of it. Nietzsche called suffering the battlefield of the will to power. It's there, and only there, where you find out who you are, what you can endure, and what you're capable of becoming. Anyone can look strong when life is easy, when the money is flowing, when the one you love is still around, when the world is still clapping for you. But when everything collapses, when you're standing alone in a quiet room, when there's no one left to blame, and you're forced to face yourself, that's the real moment. And most people break there. Because overcoming suffering means you must kill the weaker version of yourself. You must bury the fearful self. Let it die, so you can be reborn, not perfect, but untouchable. Many people choose to shrink, to accept, to stay quiet, to make excuses. They say, "This is enough for me. Why change? Better to be safe than sorry." But Nietzsche would say, all pain not transformed will repeat. You're not healing. You're postponing. You're not growing. You're looping. Stuck in a maze called rationalization. You keep ending up in the same place, with the same wound, the same person, the same fear. The only difference, each time, you think you've gotten used to it. And that's when the real damage begins. Nietzsche teaches us to face it. No avoidance, no justifications, no quick healing, but to walk through the pain with eyes wide open, not just to survive, but to emerge sharper, clearer, and unbreakable. The warrior doesn't laugh at the enemy because it's funny. He laughs because he knows this is the moment he's being forged. If you're still listening now, you've likely stepped into a realm most people avoid their entire lives. And if this awakened even a flicker of light inside you, click like, so this message won't be buried under the noise of comforting lies. Subscribe to the channel to continue the journey, because in the next part, we'll dive deeper into the root of fear. Why do most people never rise above themselves? And what's really holding you back right now? Be honest with yourself. How many times in your life have you felt like you could be more than this? Not because someone said you're not good enough, but because, deep inside, a part of you is screaming to break free. You've had moments of clarity, a flash of insight in the middle of the night, a heavy sigh during a fake conversation, a blank stare at your phone screen followed by a question you keep trying to silence. Am I living like a shadow? You've wanted to change. You've written plans. You've made promises to yourself. You felt that fire burning for a few hours. But then what? You went back. You crawled into the same old circle. You put the mask back on. You returned to your old self, the version that's safe, agreeable, and easy to control. Why? Nietzsche named it spiritual decay, decadence. Not an external collapse, but an internal rotting. You still work, still love, still go to the gym, still laugh, but your soul is quietly decomposing. You don't need to hide in a forest to feel lost. You can live in a big city with every modern comfort and still feel like you're disappearing day by day. Because the issue isn't your environment. It's the truth that you're living too far away from who you really are. You've convinced yourself, this is fine. As long as I'm not suffering, I'm okay. Peace is all I need. But peace isn't stillness. It's paralysis, dressed up in convenience. You think you're alive, but in reality, you're just trying not to feel. Nietzsche believed no one is bound by the world out there. They're bound by the weak self within. The self that always needs permission, needs approval, needs someone to guide them, agree with them, pat them on the back. You know why you're not moving forward. It's not a lack of opportunity. It's not the world holding you back. It's because you haven't dared to look in the mirror and admit, this version of me is not enough. Not strong enough. Not real enough. Not brave enough to face my greatest fear, the truth. What are you afraid of? Failure. Judgment. Doing the wrong thing. Losing what feels familiar. Or deeper still, are you afraid that if you strip away the nice image, there might be nothing underneath? Nietzsche said, "Only when you kill the weak version of yourself can you begin to truly live." And this is what most people are unwilling to do. Because a funeral for your false self is a burial no one attends. No flowers. No sympathy. Only you and the rawness of your soul. It's much easier to blame the world, the circumstances, your parents, your partner, society, fate. It's easier to say I'm like this because of them. I can't change. I was born this way. But Nietzsche would scoff. He'd look at you like a warrior who's never drawn a sword and say, "You haven't begun to live. You're just surviving with permission. You don't need anyone's approval to be reborn. You just need to take responsibility. To look at yourself and say, I don't want to live like a ghost anymore. I don't want to die without ever having truly lived. I choose pain, but pain that transforms me, because all the delays, all the denied emotions, all the truths you keep avoiding, they will return. And each time, they'll come back deeper, sharper, and more ruthless." Nietzsche warned, "All pain not transformed will repeat." So what will you do? Keep running, or stop, face it, and begin the journey of shattering who you used to be. If you're still here now, maybe you're ready to stop being a nice, likable person, and become someone who lives truthfully, even if it costs you comfort, acceptance, and being understood. If this feels real to you, click like, so this message reaches others who are waiting to be shaken awake. And subscribe to the channel, because in the next part, we'll enter the most painful and powerful chapter of this journey. Breaking your limits, the only path to becoming someone who can never be controlled. Most people spend their entire lives trying to conquer the world, conquer their careers, conquer others, conquer admiration, numbers, titles, degrees, and social status. But Nietzsche would look at them long and hard and ask, what about yourself? Have you ever conquered your own self? Because the truth is, it's easy to surpass others. It's much harder to surpass yourself. To surpass others, all you need is skill. But to surpass yourself, you need courage. The courage to confront everything you've been avoiding. The courage to strip away your own deception. The courage to admit you've been compromising for too long. And it's killing you slowly. The real battle always happens in silence. No one sees you struggling with your inner demons. No one applauds when you choose silence over rage. No one notices when you stop yourself from self-destruction. But it's within these silent battles that your true strength is born. Nietzsche called this the rebirth through self-destruction, breaking the old self. To rebuild a version that can no longer be manipulated by anyone. You cannot walk a path like this with a soft heart and a mind that needs soothing. You must be ruthlessly kind with yourself, brave enough to cut off stagnant habits, bold enough to end relationships that rot your soul, strong enough to reject, okay for what shakes your spirit to its core. Nietzsche saw life as a cycle of decay and reconstruction. There is no such thing as a finished human. There is only the human becoming. And if you stop breaking yourself, stop questioning yourself, stop pushing your limits, you're not stabilizing. You're rotting from within. You once lived like a victim. Now you must learn to live like someone responsible. No more blaming. No more delays. No more numbing yourself with good reasons. You're tired because you lack a true purpose. You feel lost because you live by borrowed values. You feel empty because you no longer believe in yourself. And the only thing that can save you now is not therapy, not comfort, but a decision that you will not go back, not live like before, not strain yourself just to be accepted, not maintain a safe life that's quietly rotting. You must bury the old self, the one who lived to be liked, the one who lived to please, the one who feared being disliked, the one who always needed permission to exist. And from the ashes of that funeral, a new being starts to rise. Not perfect, but real. Not needing to be understood. Just needing to live truthfully. Nietzsche called this being the Overman, the one no longer dependent on collective morality. The one who doesn't need validation to stand tall. The one who doesn't beg forgiveness for becoming who they are. And you will never become the Overman. If you're still afraid of being the villain in someone else's story, you will never be strong enough. If you still need someone to say, "You're doing the right thing," the moment you rise above yourself, there will be no fireworks, no trophy, no one waiting for you, only terrifying silence and absolute freedom. And you know what's interesting? When you start living like this, the world will turn against you. People will say you've changed, that you're selfish, weird, hard to understand, that you're no longer you. But they're wrong. You've never been more you than right now. If something I said here touched the deepest part of you, leave a like to let me know you're walking this path too. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because in the next part, we'll step into one of the most brutal truths of all. To become truly unbreakable, you must be ruthless enough to kill your old self before the world does it for you. You've lived like someone who's always waiting for someone to give you a chance, waiting for the world to finally see your worth, waiting for the day you'll feel ready, waiting for some mystical sign that it's time to truly live. But Nietzsche would look at you with a gaze both sorrowful and piercing, and ask, how long will you keep waiting to live like someone who owns their fate? Because in the end, no one is coming to save you. No teacher will rescue you from fear. No lover will rescue you from emptiness. No government, no religion, no technology can save you from yourself. You are the only one who can rebirth yourself. And that's why Nietzsche never wanted followers. He didn't seek head nodders. He sought those willing to set themselves on fire, to rebuild with intensity and purpose. This is the philosophy of the life shaper, no longer living reactively, but creatively, no longer asking what must I do to be loved, but rather, who do I choose to become even if no one loves me for it? The shaper of life does not live in a role. They don't need applause to trust their path. They don't post for sympathy. They quietly build a life they believe is worthy. Nietzsche called them the Overman, the one who transcends, the one who destroys inherited mental scripts to create their own meaning in life. They don't live as a product of society. They don't wait for instructions from books or moral codes. They live as a masterpiece in progress, day by day, choice by choice, moment by moment, facing themselves. Sounds noble, but it's brutal. Because to shape yourself, you must destroy every old version. You must tear down what once felt like your identity. Dare to doubt even the values you once swore to protect. Burn everything that no longer serves your evolution, whether it's a lifestyle, a relationship, a belief, or even the name you once wore with pride. That's not betrayal. That's rebirth. Nietzsche didn't write for those looking for gentle paths. He wrote for inner warriors, those unafraid to cut into their own darkness, to extract the last drop of purity and rebuild everything from zero. He understood that real evolution doesn't happen in the spotlight. It happens in the shadows when you're alone with the truth. You'll hurt. You'll doubt yourself. You'll want to turn back to the life that was easier, more acceptable, more comfortable. But Nietzsche would whisper in your ear, comfort is the most dangerous spiritual anesthetic ever created. And here's the truth. Once you start living as a shaper, The entire system out there will feel threatened. Because you no longer fit. You no longer believe the ads. You can't be manipulated by praise. You don't seek agreement from the crowd. You become a disturbance. Unpredictable. Uncontainable. And that is real freedom. You stop asking, what does the world want from me? And start asking, what do I want from myself? From that question, everything changes. You're no longer a shadow of expectations. You become your own fire. If you've made it this far, pause for just a second and ask yourself honestly, am I living like a life shaper or like a pre-programmed product? If the answer chills you, hit like and subscribe to the channel, because in the next part, we enter the real battlefield. No more theory, just you and pain, you and the choice, strength or comfort. In the end, everything Nietzsche wrote, every philosophical collision, every seemingly distant concept, all lead back to one unavoidable question. Do you choose strength, or do you choose safety? Don't answer too quickly, because this question isn't for your mind. It's for the deepest part of you, the part you've been hiding, the part that knows. You've compromised far too many times. You know what it feels like to abandon yourself. You've stayed silent when you should have stood up. You've smiled politely when you wanted to scream. You've settled for less because you were afraid of losing it all. And every time, a part of you died. Nietzsche doesn't judge you for that. He understood, because the world is designed to make you choose. Comfort. Comfort whispers in your ear. Every morning, don't risk it. Don't act on impulse. Just stay the same. Don't stir the waters. It soothes you with dopamine, gives you likes, compliments, feel-good content that makes you forget. You've never really lived, and one day, you'll realize the cost of safety is a hollow life. No more real emotions, no more personal dreams, no more passion, just a shell, perfect, polite, trendy, but soulless. Nietzsche didn't write these truths to make you sad. He wrote them to force a decision. No more circles, no more excuses, no more delays. Strength, on the other hand, is not easy to swallow. It doesn't come with flowers. It demands that you kill the old version of yourself. It demands you face your unspoken fears. It asks you to walk into the place everyone else avoids. But what you gain is something no one can take from you. The pride of owning your own soul. You no longer need approval. No longer wait for validation. No longer need a reason to live true. You live true because you know it is real. Nietzsche didn't lead you to paradise. He led you to a mirror and made you stare long and hard until you could ask yourself, am I really living? Or just performing? And if you're brave enough to answer that, a door will open, not to peace, not to instant happiness, but to the version of you you never knew you could become. And if you've made it here, I have only one question left for you. Will you trade your comfort for a version of yourself the world can't control? A version that doesn't need love to exist. A version that can stand tall in the dark. A version Nietzsche called the affirmation of being. No one can answer that for you. No book can walk you through this. Only you and your choice. Will you keep resting in the cozy nest of false promises? Or will you step forward and face the world with the burning eyes of someone who has conquered himself? And if anything in this journey awakened something in you, if even one part of your soul stirred awake, leave a comment, I choose strength, and share this video with someone you know is stuck. Not to convince them, but to spark a fire they may have forgotten long ago. And don't forget to subscribe, because the next video will be the next flame. And this journey, if you're brave enough, will never end.